Okay, welcome to the fire weather briefing for Friday, July 25th, 2025. It's myself, Miranda, in Spokane, and Logan in Seattle to give you the weather rundown. First, looking at the big picture satellite showing a trough kind of across western North America. Short waves will be grazing the Pacific Northwest over the next couple days or so. And then as we get later into the period, that trough will start to move out. The low over the Gulf or near western Alaska will kind of sag south, but otherwise we'll be watching for some energy to develop across the central Pacific off the uh, western coast and start to eject some energy in as we go into the middle to latter part of next week, which could bring us some thunderstorm chances, but a lot of unknowns out that far. But that's what we're looking for in the extended. And looking at the current visible satellite showing mostly clear skies on the east side, but on the west side, what do you got going over there in Seattle?
Yeah, so here I just wanted to show the thick marine layer we have going on this morning. We actually have quite a bit of drizzle across the area, so this will probably be well entrenched throughout the day, but just wanted to highlight that for this morning.
Thank you. And looking at the fire weather summary, we'll start on the west side as well to go through their week.
Yeah, thanks, Miranda. So as I mentioned, today will be mostly cloudy and drizzly today. Probably not going to be able to break out. Saturday, again, probably a similar story to today, though we'll probably be able to clear up in the late afternoon. As we go into Sunday, into the beginning of next week, we'll start that warming trend. So we'll start with cloudy mornings and clear and sunny afternoons, and we'll start to warm up each day. Tuesday, we'll start to get more of that ridging influence, so we'll really warm up and dry out then. And then, as you mentioned previously, we'll start to get some energy by midweek next week, and with the flow aloft turning southerly, and that pattern really lends itself to the potential for some thunderstorms. They even though they could be wet, any lightning at this point is of concern with given how dry the fuels are. But just wanted to highlight that chance of thunderstorms, mostly over the higher terrain. But we're starting to see that signal come in the models there Wednesday and especially on Thursday.
All right, on the east side, today we will be dry and breezy with winds kind of wrapping up or ratcheting up is what I mean for the afternoon, and the RH is diminishing. Will be elevated concern. We're not quite at critical levels at the moment. We stay pretty dry into the weekend and early next week. There are some off chances of some showers around the fringes of our area, but mostly we're going to just stay pretty dry. And then we start to heat up as we go into Tuesday onward. And then, as I said, we got those chance of thunderstorms coming in towards the middle to latter part of next week. And about the elevated fire weather concerns for the wind low RH, these are the areas and shaded in yellow where we have the elevated concerns for this afternoon, early evening. And the strongest winds are expected in the areas that are circled around the Wenatchee area of Waterville Plateau, the Ellensburg area, and down near the gorge, and then downwind of the Blue Mountains. But it won't quite be at critical values, but will be close. And this is the joint probability of those winds greater than 15, and RH is less than 20%, according to this one model. And our peak will be 3 to 9 p.m. with those gusts. Our winds 10 to 20, gusts 20 to 30, and the RH is 18 to 25%. So heading into the weather portion, just showing today's high temperatures up in the 80s to low 90s on the east side, 60s and 70s on the west. RHs this afternoon bottoming out in the upper teens to mid 20s with the 50s, 60s, 70s on the west side. And Our wind today showing, this is around 2 p.m., but the peak will be a little bit later than that. But this is around 10 to 15 miles per hour, locally to 20 in those higher gusts. And moving into day 2, just going to quickly go through some of these here, just showing, I'll go from day 2 to day 5 just to show the warm up as we go through these periods. So here's now Sunday and Monday. And into Tuesday, we're in the 70s and 80s on the west side and 90s to near 100 in central and eastern Washington. And our RHs are starting to dry out again. It's teens, low 20s on the east side, 40s, 50s, and then some higher RHs along the coast. And start to see some prob lightning, prob thunder coming around the fringes of Washington and North Idaho as some of that monsoonal moisture starts to creep in. Then as we go into day 6, that probability of thunder, which is Wednesday, starts to increase a bit. The best chances staying around the mountain areas initially. And then as we head into Thursday, we continue to see those thunder chances as we go out in that time frame. There's a lot of uncertainty how this will develop. It could start as early as Wednesday. It could be as late as Friday when things start to develop. So it's just want to highlight this potential as we go out there. And there's still a question of how wet or dry these storms will be. Right now, the chance of wetting rain is pretty low. So there could be some dry thunderstorms in there to contend with. But as I said, we'll be keeping an eye on that. We want you to keep an eye on that as well. Anything you want to add on the west side about any of these weather grids?
I don't think so. I think you summed it up well.
Okay. And looking at QPF, day 1, a little bit of traces or so on the west side with some of that drizzle, nothing really to write home about. And then moving into day 3, showing some of that shower chances on the fringes of the CWAs and the fire districts. And then 4 to 5, again, some fringes across south of the Blues and up near the central panhandle, maybe. And then as we go days 1 to 7, just with most of this being day 6 and 7 on this chart, is showing the better chances, some precipitation coming in that time frame. And now we'll go to the trends and we'll start on the west side.
All right, thanks. So yeah, just showing those cooler and more moist conditions here today, and at least through the first half of the weekend. You can see RHs are well above 40% the entire time. And then starting Sunday and going to the beginning of next week, that's when we'll start that warming and drying trend. You can see our H's start to dip down into the 40s and 30s there, and we'll start to warm up back into the 80s, and our recoveries will start to get just a little worse there. And then the next focus will be those thunderstorms mid to late next week. You can see there in the prop preset where we might see some chances for some thunderstorms there. But otherwise, generally, winds will be fairly light on the west side through the whole period. So I think that's all I have to add here.
Thank you. And heading east, looking towards Douglas around the Waterville Plateau, showing us cooler and dry, but we're seeing the peak winds here, this sustained winds near 15 to 20 through about 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. or so. And those RHs bottoming out in the lower 20s or so. And then we start to see the temperatures warming up and our RHs starting to drop, especially as we go into Tuesday and Wednesday. And that's priming us so as we head for hot, dry conditions ahead of the potential for some convection moving into the area as we start to cool down a little bit and the RHs start to pop back up as we go into the latter part of the week, and some slight signal of increasing pops down here, but that's the basin, so it's not a big threat mostly. And the Spokane area just kind of showing a similar trend in temperatures and RHs. Winds generally light after today, and then that increase pops. And then as we go, I'll just show the Bonners Ferry as well. Similar trend, but a little bit higher in the way of pops. If you look at the bottom here, not much higher, but mentionable precipitation chances. And lastly, 8 to 14 day heading into the first week of August, showing better than average chances of above normal temperatures and above normal precipitation. Anything else you'd like to add on the west side as we close out?
I don't think so.
All right. Thank you for joining our briefing.